Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tempcast. This is episode number 12, and today I'm joined by Eric.
Hey everyone, happy to be back for the third month in a row.
Yes, indeed, this is the third month we've been recording this podcast. And also joining me is our new regular guest, Steven.
Thank God you're back, Alan John. It was a hard week without you.
Speaking of that, I am indeed the Alan John. And today we're starting off with some of the biggest news in the gaming world right now that's happening. Watch Dogs, Ubisoft, Konami, Capcom, and Ubisoft again, and Crytek. What do these companies have in common, you might ask? Well, they've all been hacked by ransomware, by this hacking group or guy, we don't know.
Yeah, Capcom and Ubisoft both got hacked, right? Was it by the same person? There was someone named Gregor for Watch Dogs, but for Capcom, wasn't it a group called like Ragnar Locker or something?
Now that I've actually opened the article and I'm reading it, I'd like to apologize. I've actually said something wrong. It seems that Capcom has been hit by ransomware, but from a completely different group, but like in a similar attack.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch Dogs actually had its entire source code leaked, and it weighs around 560 gigabytes, which, mind you, that you couldn't even put that on an Xbox Series S. But we'll get to that later. So
That was how they smuggled it out of Capcom's headquarters.
I mean, you need a PS5 for that. As for Crytek, they've also been hacked. And Egregor, whoever. Oh, by the way, if this hacking group is listening to this podcast, please don't hack me, please. I've got a lot of valuable shit on my computer, a lot of, questionable photographs and stuff, and I'm sure that Steven and Eric as well. So please, just don't touch us.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I have nothing of value, so there's no point in hacking me. Totally.
That's like when in cartoons when you're talking to somebody about it, it's like, you don't want to eat me, I'm all bones.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like, look, you don't want to hack me, I don't have anything of value.
Yeah, but I have a lot of stuff to lose, but I don't have like any money to give you like in a ransom. So you're just gonna be screwing me over. So please don't do that. Thank you.
Dude, they're gonna hack you and get the master tracks for every Tempcast. That's valuable stuff.
Good luck. That weighs way more than Watch Dogs Legion's source code. So I don't think that's gonna even fit on a PlayStation 5. But we'll get to that later.
I want to measure every file size by whether it can fit on a PlayStation 5 or not.
The fact that this was all leaked in 560 gigabytes code, I feel like the anti-piracy measures, whatever they're throwing in there, is going to just be null and void. I feel like people are going to easily pirate this just because we have this code, and modding is going to be easy. It's all going to be... I don't think Ubisoft is pretty happy about this whole situation.
What about the Watch Dogs modding scene? I've never heard anything like come out of that, to be honest, but who knows? I'm not a Watch Dogs fan. Maybe there are millions of Watch Dogs fans who've been waiting for something like this to happen for a long time. Who knows? But the thing is, this is something I read somewhere on the internet, so it has to be true. It seems that modders cannot use like this source code in any way if they don't want to get sued. Now, I'm not a legal expert. I wish we had one on the podcast. We could maybe discuss what are the repercussions of using source code in your mods for a game, even if you release them for free.
I'm actually not sure. It's not. That's a sad answer. If you're going to be modding stuff using stolen source code, I wouldn't risk throwing that on the internet. I don't know if there's any legal repercussions, but I just wouldn't do it.
Really, who cares about Watch Dogs Legions? I don't know. I don't care. Maybe a lot of people care. Maybe this is Game of the Year stuff. Maybe this is better than Cyberpunk, if that ever comes out. So,
yeah.
Who knows?
I don't think even CD Projekt Red has Cyberpunk's source code at this point. I think they lost.
Good point.
Yeah, they're just running around the offices looking for it. That's why it was delayed. Like, we gotta compile this for the Xbox. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody got the code?
They were finishing up the game and they're like, this is too big to fit on a Series S. What do we do? It corrupted all the data trying to move it onto that Series S hard drive.
We'll get to that later. Yeah, Egregor has also hacked Crytek, and Crytek as a developer, they haven't released anything really that big. I don't even know if the Crisis remaster that was done recently was made by them. To be honest, I don't know. Egregor has leaked their plans, and their plans supposedly are to make a remaster of Crisis 2, Crisis 3, also create a battle royale game called Crisis Next, which is probably a working title, Crisis VR, and a new Rise game.
That's the most interesting one to me, is Rise. Like, is anyone talking about Rise anymore? Is anyone thinking about, like, was anyone expecting that? That would have been, that's a really weird one to pull out. Because am I wrong? Rise was a launch title on the Xbox One that nobody played and nobody remembered by like day 2 of the Xbox One's release, I think.
Yeah. It was one of those launch titles that was made like for the sole purpose of showing off graphical capabilities of a console, because that's what Crytek is known for their Cry engine and for Crisis and the Can It Run Crisis meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that much interesting stuff from Crytek. I suppose Egregor was extremely disappointed by that hack. I mean, it would have been cool. It would have been cool if the Crisis original source code was leaked. Now that would have been cool. Okay.
So then people could optimize it.
Yes, actually, yes.
Yeah, that would have been awesome, actually. I really like the idea of Egregor trying really hard to get into Crytek and then finally cracking it and looking at all their plans and being like, oh, they got nothing. Like, what a waste of time that was.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody who's listening, you cannot ask for this source code. I don't have it. Neither of us have it. And you cannot ask this on Gbatemp as well, because you will get banned, okay? Well, not banned, but suspended probably. I don't know. I mean, what do I know? I'm just a moderator. Anyways.
I just have all of the authority. And Steven and I are snitches. We will tell on you. If we see it, we're going to be, Alan John, this person's looking for wares. And then he's going to come in with a hammer and smack them.
I mean, I don't have a hammer. I have like a small wrench. So concerning the Capcom hack, which isn't done by Egregor, it's done by a different group.
Oh, yeah. It's called Ragnarlocker. They're basically, they hacked not just a specific game. They basically just stole a bunch of information from Capcom, and they're demanding a ransom to not sell it to third parties. But what's ridiculous is they're demanding $11 million in Bitcoin for it. 11 million in Bitcoin, and all they have is just, from what I understand, a notepad document, or like a text document that you open up in that, and it's just saying, we've breached your stuff, you better give us $11 million in Bitcoin or we're gonna give it away, like here's some screenshots. It's just like, it's like kidnapping the president's daughter and asking for like give me money. It's like, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know what they're expected to. Is Capcom gonna be like, oh shit, we gotta give these guys $11 million? Get out of here with that.
I mean, it might happen. I mean, Ragnar Locker, or whatever they're called, they have access to the accounting files, the banking statements, intellectual property, whatever the that means, corporate agreements and contracts. Oh no, NDAs, confidential agreements, and sales summaries. I don't know what any of that means, but probably translates to, hey, Capcom's probably working on Street Fighter 6. Wait, did Street Fighter 6 actually come out? I mean, I don't.
No, I think we're still on 5.
We're on 5.
Capcom gonna pay $11 million in Bitcoins, which is an issue in itself. I mean, all the Bitcoin traders online, like those websites, I'm not gonna name them, but you know about what I'm talking about. You need an ID to register on those websites in order to make like serious transactions. I mean, $11 million in Bitcoins. First, how are you gonna take those $11 million and turn them into bitcoins. That's going to be a nightmare. I mean, you can't do that like in a second. And then how do you? Okay, say I'm the guy who's getting the ransom, right? If I get the $11 million, how do I cash out that prize? I mean, there's no way. I can't just, hey, can you give me $11 million for these 3 bitcoins or whatever?
Yeah. Well, what they got to do is they got to give them $11 million, but in Best Buy and Target gift cards, you got to go to your local CVS and buy them. Like, that's how these scams normally work.
That's true.
It's like, you didn't pay the IRS, so now we need Best Buy gift cards. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll go get the Best Buy gift card. I'll stay on the phone with you. It's like the CEO of Capcom doing that. This whole thing's ridiculous because, like, if I got an email like this, or if like I go to a website and it pops up saying, here's your IP address, here's all this, we stole all your information, I'm like, oh, okay, close. Like, they're emphasizing those big words, like Meteor 7 said in the Gbatemp thread. It's like, super dangerous professionals, like, we're gonna type in all caps to make it seem like you're in big trouble. And it's like, they're not gonna give him $11 million. This, I don't know, this whole thing's ridiculous. And I don't think anybody in the right mind would justify this, like, oh, you know, they're hacking, they have the right to hack. It's like, no, this isn't even like piracy. This is just straight up. It's just straight up. It's a ransom. Yeah. So the whole situation's messed up. Obviously I'm on Capcom's side with this.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that they should pay them $11 million and encourage them to keep doing this. They should not get away with this.
Well, it does say here, however, if you will contact us within 2 days since Get Penetrated, you can get a very special price. So this only happened yesterday. Maybe if they contact them before 2 days, you know, they only got Penetrate yesterday. So maybe if they contact them, they can get the special price of, I don't know, 10 million bitcoins maybe, or... Yeah. It doesn't really specify.
10 million bitcoins. Oh, dude, that's way more than $11 million.
I was about to say, yeah, that's like $40 billion probably.
The fact that it's written with such typographical errors like that, not necessarily, but it makes me think that whoever's behind this at Ragnarok, maybe they're not very concerned about, you know, the law coming involved with this, because maybe they're not located in the States, or maybe they're not located in an easy place for you know,
Tempcast to take them
not
down.
me, for the Tempcast. We're gonna come and we're, yeah.
Me and Alan John are your paralegals.
We're gonna do that, and I don't know. They're gonna go the route of Gary Bowser. So who knows what's gonna happen with this? But I'll tell you. I'll give you one prediction. I don't think that they're going to get $11 million in Bitcoin as a result of this. That would blow my mind. Maybe I'm wrong, but it would blow my mind if that actually happened, because, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they don't want any success stories for hacks like this, because there's just, you know, if they give into this one, it's only going to encourage more people to do it.
And besides, what could they have that would warrant giving them $11 million? Do they have more than that in information?
The only thing that stands out to me is, like, maybe being something is the NDAs. Like, maybe Capcom is up to something shady and they really don't want those NDAs to get out. But I mean, I can't even really imagine that. Like, that's a stretch.
Oh, they have marketing presentations and audit reports. Reports? I mean, like, okay, cool. So, like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if this comes out, we're going to get, like, sales data on games. And, like, maybe that's it. Like,
yeah.
You know, speaking of sales data, Nintendo actually had their fiscal report recently, and a lot of interesting stuff popped up, including the Switch sales, which have actually hit 68 million devices. Yes, that's right. The Switch has sold over 68 million devices. What does that mean? I don't know, but 68 million, that sounds like a lot. So let's just compare this to the other consoles.
The 3DS is sitting at almost 76 million, and I think that's its highest selling console.
I think the Wii cracked 100.
Oh, the Wii, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And the NES, I think, was like 80 or something, or is that wrong? That sounds like a lot, actually. I'm gonna take that back.
Okay, I'm in. I got in the mainframe.
Yeah. Well, let's just stop the conjecture. Yeah.
You got into Nintendo's private servers.
So yeah, so the Nintendo DS family is actually, as a whole, if you take it like as a whole, has sold the most out of all Nintendo consoles. Because number one, we have the PlayStation 2 at 155 million, probably
Oh
even
yeah.
more. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
that. The Nintendo DS is only 154 million. So
Wow. I would not have expected that much.
yeah, but that's like counting the DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, the DSi XL, not counting the 3DS. So there's
No,
that.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing is like there's probably a few double dips in there, but that's still a ton, 154 million.
So right under the Nintendo DS, we have the Game Boy at 118.69 million. Nice.
Heyo.
And the Wii is at 101 million. So, the Nintendo 3DS family, so that's all the Nintendo 3DSs, is at 75.94 million, so almost 76 million.
Called
And the
it.
Nintendo Switch is right under that with 68 million. So, quite interesting. What do you guys think? Is the Switch gonna get more sales than the Wii? Possibly?
Probably. I mean, we're only 3 years into, or I guess 3.5 into its life cycle at this point.
I don't know if it's gonna beat the Wii. I'm pretty sure it's gonna beat the 3DS, but I mean, that's assuming that it's already sold less than 70% of what it's going to sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like how many more Switch sales are there gonna be at this point? And I know we're 3 years in, but are people still picking up the Switch like hotcakes? I guess they will.
I mean, they were at the beginning of the pandemic, so
Yeah, the pandemic really helped with that.
yeah. And I mean, there's also like most console cycles lately have been like five. I mean, I guess Nintendo's have mostly been 5 or 6 years. So I mean, I'd say we're about halfway through the Switch's life cycle. And there's also still the possibility of a Switch Pro looming. That would boost sales, certainly.
Yeah, good
I
point.
think, yeah, definitely it's going to hit at least 7 million by the end of the year because we've got Christmas and Black Friday, whatever, coming up soon.
We don't have any games, though. Are there any new games coming out for the Switch?
Who needs games?
That's true. Good call.
Speaking of games, they actually released reports on software sales, and I don't know the exact numbers, but Animal Crossing is highest one, along with Mario Kart, and I think Breath of the Wild is still selling. And mind you, these games they're never on sale, so these are all $60. You multiply those 20 millions of sales by 60, and you get a lot of money.
So it says here 26 million copies of Animal Crossing sold. That's like a little more than a third of every of all the Switches. Like, if you poll Switch owners, 1 in 3 of them will own Animal Crossing. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I assumed that the best-selling Switch game was Breath of the Wild. Turns out it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, I think just because it has more casual appeal, right? Like everyone kind of knows Mario Party or Mario Kart.
100%. If I had a Switch, the first game that I would buy would be Mario Kart.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find the exact number on Mario Kart right now because I remember even on the Wii U, I think it was something crazy like 50% of people owned Mario Kart 8. So Mario Kart is at 28.99. Let's call it 29 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. Smash Bros is 3 at 21. Breath of the Wild is 4 at 19.75. And Pokemon Sword and Shield is 5 at 19 million.
Yeah, and as somebody who games primarily on my PS4 now, I've been unable to find something to replicate the Mario Kart experience for me. I know that we have Crash Team Racing, which is that gives me the nostalgic factor, but I really love Mario Kart, and I can't find something just like it on the PS4, which is to Nintendo's benefit. Like they've basically, in my opinion, which probably isn't that controversial, mastered the kart game experience.
Yeah, certainly that type of like casual kart racer with like, items and, kind of cartoony effects and stuff like that. They've got the similar thing with Smash Bros. Like there's lots of fighting games on every console, but there's really nothing quite like Smash Bros. In terms of like how floaty it is and for having 4 players and...
Wait, what about PlayStation All-Stars for the PlayStation 3?
What about Jump All Stars? Didn't you ever want to be Yugimoto beating up Goku? I sure have.
Wow. Does that even play the same, though?
No, not even close.
Yeah.
I heard that game was a big disappointment. It's a shame because I was looking forward to it. I'm a big anime fan, just so you guys all know. Like all the Yu-Gi-Ohs, the Narutos, the Dragon Balls, like that stuff.
Do you like One Piece?
I hate One Piece.
Nice. Nailed it.
I hate both of you.
I've actually been reading a lot of Berserk, so I don't know if you've heard of it. It's kind of cool stuff, you know, medieval, you know, demons and stuff, and rape. But anyways,
Oh, wow. That was a little bit of a tonal change.
yeah. Once you get to volume 9, yeah.
Ooh, that's when they started running out of ideas. Yeah.
Speaking of running out, you know what's gonna be running out real soon on your Xbox and PlayStation? Memory. That's right, because the Xbox Series S reportedly has only 364 gigabytes of storage for games and apps. That's right, only 364 gigabytes. That's one Call of Duty. And
That's half a Call of Duty.
That's like 2/3 of a Watch Dogs Legion.
Yeah.
no, I'm just thinking you could put like some original Xbox games on it through backwards compatibility because those are like a gigabyte each. So
Yeah.
I guess like maybe 2-3 games. PlayStation 5 though, we know it comes with an 825 gigabyte SSD, both the digital and the disc version, but only 667 gigabytes are usable, which is actually confirms a leak that we had previously. Almost 2 Call of Duties. I mean, what do you guys think about this? Because I got some controversial opinions. Well, I'll just say that.
I think for the PS5, I mean, 667 isn't that bad. I mean, it's taking up 150 for the OS, and I guess, like, just, I don't know, like, just random stuff. It always allocates a certain bit of space to be held back. But I think that's comparable to what the PS4 did. I think the PS4... Actually, no, I think the PS4 only sectioned off, like, 80, didn't it? Or 80 or 90. Do you know, Eric?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that the terabyte one I was only able to use 800 something. So
Oh, okay, yeah. So maybe it's about the same as the PS4. But the Series S seems to have the bigger issue here, I think, because that doesn't have a disk drive, and the expandable storage is harder to get because it's nearly the same cost as the console. And, like, yeah, and especially where Microsoft, I mean, obviously you can only play digitally with that, and where Microsoft is pushing Game Pass and stuff like that so hard on the Series S, 364 gigs is probably going to cause a big issue for a lot of people, I'd imagine, right?
exactly. Again, it's one of those sort of, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, PS Vita situations, especially for Xbox, because they're going to be encouraging people to play digitally, to be downloading lots of games. And I think that it being only one Call of Duty is a little bit of an exaggeration. I think that it can handle 2 Call of Duties perhaps, maybe with some DLC. But you have to buy a proprietary thing to expand your storage. 364 gigs is just incredibly tiny. And then PS5, I mean, Sony's not off the hook here either, because 667 gigs, again, it's not a whole lot. I mean, it's more than you had on your OG PS4, you know, the 500 gigabyte version. But my PS4 I have a terabyte and a half. I have a 500 gig solid state drive and a 1 terabyte hard drive, and that's not even enough. I feel like when they're really promoting how awesome their solid state drives are, both Sony and Microsoft are doing that, to say, hey, look at how great this is. Look at how fast this is. You don't get a whole lot of it. You know, it's like, it seems to sort of contradict how awesome they think everything is. You know, it's a little disappointing, but I'm not very surprised. It doesn't actually bug me that much, but it's definitely going to be a roadblock for some people. They're gonna most people, I know I would have to buy additional storage for either console.
No doubt. Sony does make it a little easier where you can use third-party NVMEs on the PS5. You don't have to go right to their proprietary hardware.
Exactly. Plus, it also comes with almost twice as much as the Series S does.
Yeah.
So I'm saying Sony, yes, just in terms of storage, I think that Sony has kicked Microsoft's butt, but that was a low bar.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Sony has improved, they haven't solved the problem of running out of storage, especially when you have the digital only version.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, not necessarily, because you're going to have to. No, that's actually not true, because you're going to have to download the discs regardless, the data on it. So.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah. Either way, 667 is not a lot.
Well, so the Series X, there's no official number on it yet, but I think when they announced them, didn't they say it would have about twice the storage of the Series S? Is that right?
I think it had 1 terabyte.
Did it? And is the Series S 500?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can say, so the Series X will probably have like, I don't know, let's say close to 800 just for sake of conversation. Like, that's not bad, and that is the version more people are getting, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed with 800. So it's sort of like, you're right, we're comparing the Series S with the PS5, and that's kind of like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
Once we find out... I don't understand why we can't compare apples to oranges. They're both fruit, but whatever. Yeah, so if the X is at like 800 gigs, I'm not going to... You're not going to see me complaining about it.
Here's where my controversial opinion comes in. I think this is fine, especially the Xbox Series S, which is a console that's selling for $299, and the reviews are actually out. We know what kind of a performance to expect from the Series S. I mean, it definitely does 1080p 60, definitely does even 4K 60 at some games. There's that. I mean, for $299, you literally cannot complain for what you're getting in terms of performance.
No.
But concerning the storage, like... Yes, I know that 364 gigabytes, it's not that much, but considering this is NVMe SSD storage, like top grade SSD stuff in this thing, I think that's like reasonable. I mean, yes, you probably can only put like a Call of Duty and maybe a couple of other games, but nobody's forcing you to play Call of Duty. I mean, you could just offload the other games on an external even hard drive, not even like an SSD. It will just like load the games slower a bit, I think.
Yeah, and that's fine for the backwards compatible ones probably, or at least like the original Xbox and 360, maybe not Xbox One.
And if you don't want to play like your Call of Duty, but you don't want to wait like an entire week for the thing to download, you just offload it off to your hard drive and then download the game you want to play. And then, just switch around. I don't really see the issue, because I've always been playing with ridiculously low amounts of storage. Like, I never had terabytes and terabytes of hard drive storage on my PC. I mean, the instant SSDs came out, I upgraded it. So, I've always had like 120. Right now I'm at 240, and maybe someday I'll get like 512 gigabytes.
Man, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the dream. When we get that studio from Tempcast, maybe they'll outfit us with a nice 512 gig hard drive.
We're all going to have to move to Texas and start our new lives together, the three of us.
That'd be nice.
So I'm like used to deleting Counter-Strike to download Dark Souls, and then deleting Dark Souls to download Counter-Strike. I do that like weekly, basically. So I'm fine with that, but I can understand why people are kind of pissed off about this. But for $299... Come on.
I see where you're coming from, but I do also think the Series S is aimed at the way more casual market that doesn't, like, they don't want to buy an extra hard drive, period, let alone have to think about swapping stuff around and looking into the difference between an SSD and and a hard drive to figure out the different loading speeds and moving around the backwards compatibility stuff, and even having to think ahead. Like, I know with my PS4, when I jump on to play a game with someone, like, I'll be hanging out and I'll get a text that says like, hey, do you want to play Fall Guys? Do you want to play Warzone? And I jump on, and if there's even an update I need to download that delays me like 20-30 minutes, people, it's hard to get people together to play a game. So like that can even set you off and throw everything off and kind of screw up the game plan you had. So like, if you're having to think about swapping these massive games around from a hard drive to an SSD, or deleting them or re-downloading them, I think it would be an issue for the more casual players, and those are the ones that the Series S is aimed at.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. You're right.
Yeah, because you said the whole thing takes up, it's one Call of Duty, and like a lot of games aren't as big as Call of Duty, no, but this is for the Call of Duty audience, basically. Like, again, for the price, yeah, like, I definitely see where you're coming from a straight hardware specs perspective, but like,
So the embargoes on the Xbox Series S and PlayStation 5 have been actually lifted somewhat, it seems, like, because I've been sitting on Twitter all day and reviewers are just saying, well, I can talk about this, but that's the only thing I can say about this. So it's a very confusing situation for me. But what we know so far is a couple of details about the backwards compatibility on these systems. So we know for a fact that at least on the Series S, backwards compatibility is practically a non-issue, even for the OG Xbox. Like everything from OG Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox One is running just fine on the one, not the one, but the Series S. Damn it. This naming. Everything, you can set it to run at 4K, at 60 FPS, at 1080p, 60 FPS. The Series S actually supports 1440p, which is something that the PlayStation 5 doesn't, which is interesting to say the least. But
yeah.
very disappointing detail about the PlayStation 5 is that Bloodborne, a game we've all been looking forward to have, an updated version on the PlayStation 5, like better performance, because that game is riddled with frame rate issues. It's already locked down to 30, but it keeps dipping below 30, and it's not like a constant 30. There's issues with frame pacing in that game.
Really?
There have been hacks for the PlayStation 4 Pro specifically that actually enable 60 frames per second, but it's not like a constant 60 FPS. So people speculated that on the PlayStation 5 it would be just perfect, the perfect Bloodborne experience, but nope. Unfortunately, for some reason, Bloodborne is still locked at 30 FPS on the PlayStation 5, still 1080p, and still it has the same frame pacing issues. But the thing is, other games from PlayStation 4 have actually been upgraded to the PlayStation 5 and run smoothly. Like there's 60 FPS enabled in Dark Souls 3 actually, but Bloodborne for some reason, I don't know.
That's really bizarre.
Maybe it's because I wasn't really searching for it when I played Bloodborne, but I platinumed that game. I played it on the PS4 Pro though, granted, not the original PS4, and I didn't notice many, if any, frame rate dips. The game definitely does seem like it was designed to be played at 30 frames per second. It's one of those things where I know that there's ways to switch it to 60 frames per second if you hack it, which I didn't do. But I can imagine that would throw off the boss, the boss fights, how you do things. It's one of those things where it's like you have to, the frame rate is part of your strategy. Maybe this is just their marketing excuse for why they're not switching it to 60 frames per second. But it's like, no, that would fundamentally change the game by switching it to 60. That said, if there really are a ton of frame rate drops at the 30 frames per second version, that needs to be fixed, because you don't want the frame rate drops when you're, in the middle of an intense fight for the 15th time because he keeps killing you.
Yeah, but games such as Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro have been upgraded on PlayStation 5 and run at 60 FPS. And those are games from Software, who created Bloodborne as well. And those gameplay styles aren't that drastically different from each other. Maybe Sekiro is. So what you're saying, I just fundamentally disagree with the fact that, this game was meant to be played at 30 FPS. Like, no, it's better at 60. It's smoother. You actually have more time to react to some things. So you get more iframes, which are invincibility frames. Yeah, it's just an overall better experience at 60 FPS. And people are actually speculating that this isn't actually a result of negligence from Software or Sony. They did it on purpose because they're planning a Bloodborne HD remaster, which that would be interesting, I'd definitely look into that if it comes out for PC.
Sorry, I was going to say, it would be interesting if they weren't intentionally gimping the backwards compatibility version to, push the HD remaster.
Yeah, I feel like I should clarify that I was sort of giving the marketing speech of it. Like, who knows if that's actually true, like, if it's better at 30 versus 60. I was just saying, like, that's probably how they're internally justifying it, or even externally. I don't know if they've said anything about it like that or not.
Yeah. It's really strange, too, that Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 have the performance boost, because those are multi-platform, and Bloodborne is a PlayStation exclusive.
Oh, and actually, Dark Souls 3 on the Xbox Series S doesn't run on 60. It's still up to 30 for some reason.
That's so strange. Why is it inconsistent between the two of them? And again, yeah, and Bloodborne is even stranger, because again, I guess kind of like what I was saying with the storage thing is, like, the Bloodborne audience is exactly the one that cares about frame rates and performance, and, like, not only just because it's a more hardcore game, but it is more suited to that genre, because it's very, very hard, but it has a reputation for being fair, which is why people love it. And so every additional frame you get makes it a little bit more fair and makes it a little bit more engaging. So that's really, really strange that they can't, or I mean, who knows if they can't or they decided not to or what, but.
So the next thing on our list of things to talk about is the 2020 election reaction. So let's just skip past that for now and go to our new, well, I guess it's a recurring segment, All the Small Things, where we talk about all of the smaller things that happened in gaming recently that don't necessarily warrant a whole topic to it. So let's start with Sega. So Sega Sammy, which was the parent company behind Sega's home gaming and arcade sectors, they in 2020, as a result of COVID-19, faced some serious losses. As a result, next month, so in December, the company is going to sell off over 85%, it's like 85.1% of its ownership of Sega Entertainment to a Japanese business. It's called Genda, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yep.
The key thing to note about this whole thing is that the existing arcade systems throughout Japan, they're still going to have the Sega branding, and Sega itself is still going to be developing the arcade games, but the ownership of those arcades are going to belong to this new company. Well, it's not a new company, but it's going to belong to Genda under their ownership. Do you guys happen to have any opinions or reactions to this whatsoever?
It's kind of sad that they have to sell off part of their business because of, this coronavirus shit. I think we're all done with it already, especially me. But yeah, it always fascinated me how arcades basically in the West have become like a niche novel thing. Like, you don't have, I don't know, I don't live in the US, but you don't have arcade cabinets. You don't have arcade shops or whatever, places where people go to play arcade games. But in Japan, with the pachinko stuff, it's still very much a very active industry. So that was also always fascinating to me. I know that Konami makes a ton of money from arcades and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's just, you're basically, like you said, it's just sad to see Sega have to do this. Like, after seeing them have to, like, get out of the console business and having to, like, keep pulling back and getting smaller and smaller, to now have to sell off the vast majority of their arcade business is, yeah.
Not only has Sega lost a lot of money, another Japanese company, you might have heard of them, Square Enix, have lost a lot of revenue, but not actually due to COVID, but due to their hit game, The Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers, which was a flop, unfortunately. So have you guys heard of this? What's your general opinion about the Avengers game and its business model?
The Avengers game is really weird because it seems like it was probably made originally to be like kind of a straightforward single player linear game, and then it just got infected with all of these little, like the typical monetization scummy things that you see in the video game industry, where there's like battle passes for each character, and there's microtransactions that are just cosmetic, but there's still microtransactions in there. And they tried to turn it into a live service where they keep teasing out more content as you go on, and like it never made sense to me. Like, it just seems like it should have been a straightforward single player game, and it might have performed a lot better if they'd set those expectations. But instead they tried to turn this into like a Call of Duty or a Fortnite or whatever that people are just going to keep going back to and playing forever and ever, and it never seemed suited to that. So I think this game was always kind of destined to fail, honestly.
Yeah, I think I concur with everything that you just said. I know that Jordan Rai 4 on Gbatemp reviewed it, and he seemed to like it, but there were I think he addressed those problems also. Is that it didn't seem to know what direction it was trying to go. And I also think that people would have been more susceptible to liking it if it didn't have all of these microtransactions and weird things going on with it. If it was just the single player experience, if it was similar to Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4 and 5 and everything, I think that it would have done much better than it did.
Yeah, that's really what it should have been. It just felt like they had that idea originally, because I never played it, but I heard a few reviewers say that it felt like you could see like the skeleton of a good game in there somewhere, but it just seems like some executive at Square Enix decided like, the Avengers is a popular property, let's take that and just throw in all this other garbage that makes money in other games, and then we'll make all the money, because they just see this as an equation, rather than an art form. And yeah, I don't know. As soon as they started saying that this was going to be a live service, I just had no hope that this game would be good or that it would make their money back for them.
Now to our final topic in the All the Small Things segment, which is the Mass Effect rumors. So you guys might know, looking at the calendar, that N7 is today, November 7th. And this is usually when EA announces something related to Mass Effect. And, there's actually been a lot of speculation on Twitter, on the social networks, that something might be announced. And even EA themselves have teased to look out for N7, which is... So when this podcast is actually published, they probably already announced what they were going to announce. So...
That's what I was going to say. This is such a weird thing to talk about, because they have a live stream planned for 3.5 hours from when we're recording this. So we're going to speculate and be like, oh my God, is it the Mass Effect remaster that everyone's been talking about? But it's by the time this comes out, everyone will know whether or not it is.
Yeah. By the time this comes out, people might know who the president of the United States
Let's
is.
not get crazy, Eric.
Probably not.
I'm just waiting for the remastered vote count in.
Don't get started. They're already doing that.
Yeah, any Mass Effect fans here?
No.
Great.
Not really.
Where's Jordan when you need him?
He was putting time out after he yelled at us last week.
Oh yeah, true.
He needs to learn to control his temper. He was so loud, that boy.
Let's actually speculate a little bit what they're going to announce, because I think it's going to be the Switch port. I think that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That seems the most likely. I mean, I think, was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, there was a rating came out from a Taiwanese or Korean ratings board about Mass Effect trilogy on Switch. So, and I believe it was also listed for Xbox One and PS4. So that seems the most likely. I mean, I believe EA also said it would release a remaster as well as a brand new game by the end of March 2021 in some investors' call. So Mass Effect seems like the prime candidate for that remaster. I don't really know what else it would be, especially considering everything else, swirling around this.
Great.
Did I kill the speculation? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much really to announce with Mass Effect, because Andromeda was a flop. I mean, I doubt anybody's been working on Mass Effect 4.
5.
No, 4.
Oh, like a proper 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Even though, I'm pretty sure 3 ended, in a way that you end, a trilogy. It wasn't open-ended, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know. I've never played the games, so...
Me neither. I believe it was a pretty definitive ending, though.
So, speaking of definitive endings, thank you for listening to the Tempcast. Oh no, it started again. Okay.
The ending of this podcast is going about as well as the ending of Mass Effect 3.
To our listeners, that's my UPS actually buzzing, and I don't have much time, to be honest. So, oh wait, it fixed itself. Okay, we're fine. Anyways. Thank you, guys.
It's the most stressful podcast. Oh, Lord.
Thank you, guys, for listening to the Tempcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, give us a like. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps. Thank you so much. And
smash that bell icon.
Yeah. And Hi.
Download Raid Shadow Legends using your
No!
Okay, my UPS is going. I gotta go. Bye, guys.